Be me, Nate, 32, Senior Reliability Engineer at a logistics SaaS, where every outage means penalties, panic, and conference room yelling. Glass walls, startup furniture, kombucha tap, neon mission statement, giant uptime screen, whole place looks like a startup church. Before Melissa arrived, my job was simple: keep production alive while everyone else pretended reliability happened by magic. CEO hires Melissa Vale, Director of People Operations and Culture, polished voice, perfect posture, expensive therapist energy. First, all hands sounds like a TED Talk about hidden hierarchies, invisible labor, relational safety, and technical dominance. Creative and accounts love her immediately. Tech trades side eyes and goes back to keyboards. Early changes are annoying but survivable. Surveys, gratitude circles, emotional weather check-ins, pastel posters near the coffee machine. Everything changes when Melissa launches Kitchen Equity Program beside the snack fridge, like she is unveiling national policy. She says women carried invisible care labor for years, and technical men benefited most while contributing least. Food care duty becomes official with calendar blocks, attendance tracking, and people ops supervision. I make the mistake of mentioning I like cooking, so my name starts appearing constantly. First shift is burgers on Friday, sales claps, somebody films it. Melissa calls it restorative masculinity. Hearing that phrase while flipping patties in a company apron almost makes me throw the spatula. Next week, I get another shift, then another, always during the exact Windows incidents usually happen. Design and people ops mostly show up for photos. Tech actually cooks and cleans. One afternoon, order queue alerts blow up red while I am already checking logs. People ops coordinator walks over with a tablet and says lunch equity in 10, tacos station. I tell her order sync is degrading, and if I leave now, we will pay for it. She looks at the dashboard and says, care labor was never optional for women. Then she adds, it should not become optional for men because they handle prestige systems. Standing there with avocados in one hand and a flashing incident board behind me feels insane. Later, I message Melissa calmly, just asking not to schedule in for people on kitchen duty during release windows. Back comes a giant email about hierarchy language, care devaluation, resistance patterns, and cultural reframing. Her point is, my request proves the policy is necessary because I still rank care work lower. Arguing with that kind of email feels like fighting a weighted blanket, so I drop it. Next, she launches Equal Tools Initiative and calls it resource equity. Melissa says tech accumulated status through premium hardware and private setups. One Monday, my workstation is gone, monitor gone, keyboard gone, even my dock moved. What remains is a thin corporate laptop with a screaming fan and keys like wet cardboard. IT leaves a note thanking me for supporting equity redistribution approved by PeopleOps. Monitoring, logs, VPN, dashboards, everything lags or freezes on that thing. While my screens stutter, Melissa gives new hires a tour and praises equitable work surfaces. Same workload takes longer. Then I get feedback saying my responsiveness slipped. Apparently, production delays are now a personality issue, not a hardware issue. Then comes no solo ownership policy, sold as burnout prevention. Melissa says single-owner systems create gatekeepers and hero culture, which she frames as toxic masculinity. Every service gets co-owners. Every major change needs alignment. Every incident action requires shared visibility. In real life, Nobody touches anything until a tiny committee forms in Slack. One integration fails, and I type the rollback fix immediately because the cause is obvious. Account manager replies, asking for co-owner alignment before unilateral action, like she is quoting law. One co-owner is in Melissa's empathy writing workshop. The other answers 15 minutes later. 20 minutes vanish while the client loses label printing, and I stare at the cursor. Old system would be fixed in 3 minutes. New system gives us a collaborative corpse. Retro is worse because Melissa praises the process for keeping everyone included. Watching downtime climb while she says that almost makes me quit. Mortgage and bills win, so I stay and keep pretending this is survivable. Role rotation week arrives next and turns the office into parody. Melissa says people must decenter status silos by rotating into other functions. Tech gets pushed into support and office service, while brand and people ops mostly observe operations. That word matters because they observe while we haul boxes and answer tickets. Support shadowing happens. Then they have me moving supplies for a wellness setup. Calendar hell peaks when I see office hospitality prep booked under my name before a major client visit. Same window contains release prep and migration checks, so I message my lead immediately. His answer is basically, don't fight it. CEO already blessed the schedule. Hospitality prep day arrives, and I am slicing vegetables by the kitchen island like catering staff. Uptime screen above the menu board shows queue spikes creeping up while my phone keeps buzzing. Slack asks about API degradation, while a people ops coordinator watches my cucumber cuts. She tells me to stay present because the client visit is a key signal. My signal is a red graph, not decorative produce geometry, but nobody wants that answer. I snap at her, then go back to chopping because every pushback becomes another note somewhere. Few days later, Melissa somehow tops herself with a mandatory field empathy trip. Theme is reconnecting with care and supply chains because we lived too long in abstract numbers. Destination is an eco-farm and rescue center, attendance required for core alignment. She schedules it the day before our biggest release of the quarter. Tech raises concerns quietly because migration prep is incomplete and we need validation time. Melissa smiles and says, preparedness is not only technical. CEO nods beside her like a dashboard bauble toy. Bus ride becomes a social media shoot while People Ops hands out vulnerability prompts. At the farm, they put us in a circle by a pen and ask how we experience control. Melissa films clips while people talk about trust, softness, and relational systems. My brain spends the whole thing running missing release checks in the background. Feeding calves comes next, and Melissa says, care work begins with embodied presence. Creative gets emotional. Accounts melts. I just imagine the client learning where their prep day went. Client calls are already getting ruined by Melissa's other invention, client experience theater. Her pitch says we perform stress and technical dominance, but clients need trust and alignment first. Important calls now begin with grounding, shared intentions, and a values minute. Half the meeting disappears before anyone mentions blockers, timelines, or risk. On a status call with our biggest client, we should be discussing migration readiness and failure scenarios. Instead, the account lead looks at Melissa and gets a polished speech about supported transitions. I jump in to flag incomplete checks and messy access caused by co-owner changes. Melissa lifts a hand like a teacher and says, "Technical space will happen at the end." 4 minutes remain by the time the end arrives and the client has another meeting. One risk barely gets out before it drowns in partnership language. Camera shows the client's face. He looks like a man hearing every word except the one he asked for. After that call, I send a clean follow-up listing, what is unverified, and why the window is fragile. Melissa forwards it upward with softer wording and turns most of the risk into alignment opportunities. Then PeopleOps sends my performance check-in, and it reads like a polished insult. Brilliant technically, low visible care contribution, resistant to culture participation, weak collaborative modeling. Another line says, I need more humility and less urgency signaling around non-technical peers. Reading that on my downgraded laptop while the fan screams feels surreal even for startup life. No revenge arc starts there, no anime mastermind plan, just fatigue and rent. Something does shut off though, the free hero mode I used to run on. Night fixes stop being automatic, silent cleanup stops happening, arguments end sooner. If a service has co-owners can own it. If I am on kitchen duty, I chop. If a call starts with theater, I wait for my turn. It is not strategy, I am just done donating energy to a system that punishes it. Release week arrives for our biggest client, the one carrying a huge chunk of revenue. Their logistics flow depends on our order and tracking stack, and renewal hinges on this rollout. Conditions are terrible. Prep day lost to the farm trip, ownership blurred, hardware crippled, roles rotating. Melissa also shifts me off one critical block under equity staffing and places a less experienced teammate there. Nothing against her, she just is not ready for that block yet. I send a calm risk summary in email and Slack with bullet points and no drama. Unfinished checks, unconfirmed access, conflicts with hospitality and food duty, weak release readiness, all documented. I recommend delaying 24 hours so we can run the checklist properly. Melissa replies, all team within 20 minutes. Says not to center one person's technical anxiety. She adds, panic messaging hurts trust, and shared ownership means moving together under the agreed plan. CEO reacts with a hands emoji like she solved philosophy. Release day hits, and my calendar says lunch equity lead, plus hospitality support from noon to 1. I laugh once, loud enough to turn heads, then start brewing coffee and setting trays. Slack starts with small questions, then tense questions, then urgent tags. One co-owner assumes the migration script already ran, while the other waits for confirmation. The teammate placed there by staffing rules is scared to touch config without guidance. Old me would grab the whole thing and fix it fast, but old me got trained out. Someone in chat asks if I can jump in. Coordinator replies first. Nate is on kitchen. There I am, tray in hand, company apron on, reading rollback arguments while chicken skewers warm behind me. Melissa passes with a client welcome folder and tells me to keep focus because guests arrive in 10. Same minute, the client call starts in the glass room and she runs the full format. Through the wall, I hear grounding prompts and staying-centered language while systems slide sideways. Client asks why tracking data is diverging and gets a values-based answer instead of status. Account lead smiles through panic. Melissa runs the room like a ceremony. Tech gets boxed out again. My name is not even on the call because I am officially hospitality support that hour. Inside I am boiling, but this is office life, not an action movie. One step outside process becomes your next PIP bullet, so I stay inside process. I post in Slack that I can join after 1 when my assigned block ends. I also note the current incident owners are listed elsewhere, and I need a handoff. No sarcasm, just the operating model she built. 5 minutes later, Melissa storms into the kitchen without her usual smile. Voice sharp, eyes flat, she says the client is escalating and she needs me in operations now. I set the tray down and show her the calendar block she assigned through 1. Next tab is the ownership board showing I am not active owner on that service. Third tab is her email about no panic, shared ownership, and respecting role boundaries. All I say is I am following the operating model she implemented and the CEO approved. I add I can join when the co-owners sync me in and my block ends. For a second, she stares like she is hearing her own words in a stranger's mouth. Then comes the scramble, teamwork, flexibility, urgency, all the words she hated last month. I keep placing containers on trays while Slack volume climbs and my phone buzzes nonstop. By then, the chain is already breaking, one service timing out, another duplicating events. Chat fills with co-owners arguing over who confirmed the latest config, and nobody has a clean record. My laptop freezes again on basic graphs because my real station still lives in media. Cursing starts in the glass room, and the client side has automatic recording enabled. CEO runs in sweating and asks why tech is not controlling the incident. 3 answers hit him at once, none useful, and Melissa immediately frames it as legacy technical resistance. Standing near the coffee station, I can feel the room trying to make me the villain. Problem for that plan is paperwork, timestamps, and policy docs, and every road leads to her desk. Client's ops director pulls legal in and demands immediate review with emails, policies, and call recordings. Another conference room turns into a courtroom without anyone saying the word. Calendar comes first, showing my kitchen equity and hospitality assignment during the exact failure window. Role rotation sheet comes next, signed by Melissa, notes about decentering technical status through service labor. No solo ownership policy goes up after that, requiring co-owner alignment before unilateral changes on critical systems. Equal tools rollout follows, listing redistributed equipment, including my station and monitors. Attendance record for the empathy trip gets added, stamped required alignment the day before release. My risk email appears next with the bullet points and delay recommendation. Melissa's reply follows with technical anxiety, panic messaging, and shared ownership in bold. Last piece is the client call recording, and that one kills the rest of her spin. 15 minutes of grounding, intentions, and trust language, while the incident grows in real time. Client asks repeatedly for technical status and keeps getting process talk until the call collapses. Silence after playback feels heavy enough to bend the room. Melissa tries one more speech about context and sabotage, but nobody buys it. Client's lawyer asks one question: who approved these process changes before a critical release? CEO looks at Melissa the same way he looks at burn charts when numbers turn ugly. No dramatic firing scene, just immediate removal pending internal review, the corporate version of a body bag. Official notice later says process overreach and operational interference, causing client impacting failure. Around the office, everyone translates that to Melissa burned our biggest account with culture experiments. Client does not fully leave, but they slash scope and hit us with penalties that hurt. Office mood changes overnight, quiet and embarrassed, like after a family fight in front of guests. Gratitude boards disappear, values cards vanish, culture posters come down from the walls. Food care equity schedule still hangs on the fridge for days, looking stupid in fluorescent light. IT returns my real laptop, monitor, keyboard, and an unsigned apology ticket. CEO asks for a private talk and says we need clear ownership and operational accountability back. He asks me to help rebuild incident process because I know exactly where everything broke. Almost laugh hearing that, because a week earlier they wanted me to stop centering technical urgency. No victory speech comes out of me. I am too tired to perform one. I just tell him I will help fix systems, but someone else can paint culture decks. Later that night, I go to the kitchen for water and see my old duty slot on the fridge. Same lunch equity slot from release day, same printed block that kept me holding trays while systems burned. I pull it down, fold it once, and drop it in the trash. After that, I walk back to the uptime screen and open the incident board again. Servers are not better people. Co-workers are not suddenly smarter, but the room feels a little less fake. For that office, honestly, that counts as a miracle.